You know that feeling.
Yeah.
The alarm blares, your phone's already buzzing with demands, emails,
Oh.
notifications, and your mental to-do list is like a mile long before your feet even hit the floor.
It's like the day owns you before it even starts. That feeling is so common, isn't it?
Totally. It feels like you're just reacting constantly.
Yeah.
But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if, even the craziest day could feel a bit more controlled?
That's a great question. It's almost become the norm, that feeling overwhelmed.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. We're not talking about like vague positive thinking here.
No quick fixes.
Right. We've been digging into the YouTube summary of Caroline Webb's book, How to Have a Good Day. And it's full of really practical, science-backed stuff about how we can actually deliberately shape our days.
Yeah, what I found fascinating is Webb's core idea. Good days aren't just luck. They don't just happen to us when everything goes perfectly.
Which almost never happens.
Yeah, right. She argues there's something we create through intentional choices and that it's actually more achievable than we think.
And the really good news, I thought, was that it doesn't require some huge life overhaul. It's more about these subtle shifts in how we approach things.
Small hinges, swinging big doors.
Yeah, because that default mode for so many of us is just reactive,
Yeah.
juggling, responding, always feeling behind. We've kind of accepted it.
We've normalized it. And Webb has this great quote. She says something like, the real problem isn't our workload or our inboxes or even our circumstances.
Okay.
It's the way we're approaching every moment without realizing it. It's internal.
That hits home. It's like we're running on autopilot, isn't it? Just letting old habits and immediate pressures call the shots, stuck in that stress loop.
Exactly. And Webb's whole thing is about waking up from that autopilot, becoming aware of how our own minds work.
Taking the controls back a bit.
Yeah, so we can start making conscious choices instead of just letting those automatic reactions run the show.
Okay, so let's get into that. She talks about the mind having these two systems, right? How do those work?
Right. So think of it like two gears in your brain. You've got the deliberate system. That's the slow, thoughtful, analytical part. Your rational mind, basically.
Okay, the one that does the heavy lifting, thinking-wise.
Pretty much. And then you've got the automatic system. This one's fast, instinctive, emotional. It runs on habits. It's what kicks in instantly.
Like when someone cuts you off in traffic, you just react.
Exactly. That's the automatic system firing.
Yeah.
Whereas, say, planning out a complex project that requires the deliberate system.
Got it.
And the key insight is that these two systems are constantly kind of battling for control throughout the day. And Webb says most of us, without realizing it, spend way too much time dominated by the automatic system.
Which makes sense because it's easier, right? It takes less energy.
It does. It's efficient for simple stuff, but it leads to those impulsive reactions, getting stuck in stress cycles, maybe scrolling social media when you meant to work.
Guilty. So the goal is to wake up that deliberate system more often.
Precisely. To consciously engage it, to break free from those automatic loops of frustration or distraction. It's about creating that pause for thought.
Okay. Now, how do the two emotional modes she talks about, defensive and discovery, fit in with those systems?
They're really closely linked. Defensive mode is basically triggered when your brain perceives a threat.
And that threat doesn't have to be like a tiger chasing you,
Yeah.
right? It could be a critical email.
Exactly. A tight deadline, negative feedback, even just feeling rushed. When that happens, our thinking narrows. We get guarded, reactive. That's often the automatic system kicking in, fueled by anxiety or irritation.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Your perspective just shrinks and everything feels like a potential problem. Creativity goes out the window.
Totally. Problem solving gets harder. You feel overwhelmed. It's not a great state for getting things done effectively.
So what's the alternative? Discovery mode.
Right. Discovery mode is when you feel more open, curious, energized, your thinking expands, you see possibilities, connections. This is where the deliberate system has more influence.
That sounds like where you want to be most of the time.
Ideally, yeah. It boosts creativity, optimism, resilience. You can tackle challenges much better. But Webb stresses it's not about never being in defensive mode. Sometimes it's protective. The skill is recognizing when you're in it unnecessarily.
And knowing how to shift back.
Exactly. Knowing how to consciously guide yourself back towards that more open discovery state, not getting stuck in defense.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's about awareness and intentional shifting. Now let's bring in the body-mind connection. We kind of know it's important, but how does Webb frame it?
She really emphasizes how physical we are. Our bodies aren't just carrying our brains around, she calls them co-pilots. They constantly influence our thoughts, feelings, our responses.
How so?
Well, think about simple things. Your posture when you're stressed versus relaxed, shallow breathing versus deep breaths, how lack of sleep impacts your mood and focus.
Oh, definitely. If I'm sleep deprived, my fuse is way shorter, and concentrating is tough.
Right. So, managing our physical energy through sleep, nutrition, movement, even just breathing isn't a nice to have. It's fundamental.
Hmm.
It fuels that deliberate system, helps us stay in discovery mode, builds resilience.
If you ignore the body, you're basically undermining all the mental effort.
You're undermining your ability to have a good day, essentially, trying to run on empty.
Okay, powerful reminder. So we've got the mind systems, the emotional modes, the body-mind link.
Hmm.
Now, let's get practical. Webb outlined these 7 building blocks for a good day. First up is set intentions. What's the key here?
The key is doing it before the day grabs you. Most of us, wake up, grab the phone, check email, dive into the demands. We start in reaction mode.
Yeah, the inbox dictates the morning.
Right. So Webb says take just a moment before all that. Pause and ask yourself, what would make today a good day for me? Not just about tasks, but about how you want to feel or what would feel meaningful.
So it's less about the to-do list and more about the to-be list for the day, setting your own direction first.
Exactly. It's about setting your internal compass proactively. It helps you filter everything else that comes at you.
I like that. Okay, second building block. Work smarter. Focus. This tackles the multitasking myth, right?
It really does. She debunks it pretty effectively. Trying to juggle multiple demanding things at once just fragments our attention, drains our mental energy faster, and honestly, the quality of work suffers.
So deep, focused work on one thing is the way to go.
That's the argument. For your best work, single tasking is far more effective. And part of working smarter is also tuning into your own energy rhythms.
Like knowing when you're naturally sharpest.
Yeah. Schedule those demanding, focus-heavy tasks for your peak energy times. Save the easier stuff, like clearing routine emails, for when your energy naturally dips. Don't fight your biology.
Makes sense. Stop trying to force complex thought when you're hitting that afternoon slump. Okay, number 3. Nurture relationships. How does this fit into having a good day?
Well, every interaction we have either kind of lifts us up or drags us down, doesn't it? It impacts our emotional state hugely.
True. A difficult conversation can sour the whole day.
Definitely. So Webb suggests a really powerful practice here. Assume positive intent. When someone messes up or says something that bugs you, try to pause before jumping to negative conclusions.
That can be hard sometimes.
It really can. But defaulting to assuming they had good intentions or maybe just made a mistake, rather than assuming malice or incompetence, it can completely change the dynamic. It disarms conflict, builds empathy.
Okay. Assume positive intent. What else under relationships?
Truly listening.
Yeah.
Listening to understand, not just waiting for your turn to talk or formulating your reply while they're still speaking. That deep listening builds trust and real connection.
Creating a better vibe in our interactions. Got it. Fourth block. Make wise decisions. What's the pitfall here?
Our brains are full of shortcuts and biases that aren't always helpful. Confirmation bias is a big one. We look for evidence that confirms what we already think.
And ignore stuff that contradicts it.
Exactly. So Webb stresses the importance of pausing before big decisions, questioning your first impression, asking things like, what else could be true here? What assumptions am I making? What am I missing?
It's about challenging your own perspective to avoid those mental traps. Broadening the view. Okay. Fifth is build influence. This isn't about being manipulative, though.
Not at all, in Webb's view. It's about connection first. Really understanding the other person's perspective, their concerns, their world, speaking to their needs before you even start making your case or presenting your logic.
So empathy is the foundation.
Absolutely. Build that bridge of understanding first, and then influence happens much more naturally and effectively.
Lead with connection.
Nice. Sixth building block, boost resilience. How do we get better at bouncing back?
Resilience isn't about never falling down or avoiding pain. It's about how quickly and effectively you get back up.
The recovery.
Right. A key part of this is reframing setbacks. Instead of seeing failure as the end, view it as data. Ask, what can I learn from this? Shifting from blame or despair to curiosity and learning. So failure is just feedback on the path to success.
That's the mindset. It's about mastering the recovery, not pretending the hits don't happen.
Okay, and the seventh block brings us full circle. Manage your energy.
Exactly. This loops back to that crucial body-mind connection. Webb really hammers this home. Things like sleep, movement, breathing, nutrition. They aren't luxuries or afterthoughts. They are absolute lifelines.
The fuel for everything else.
Totally. Ignoring them makes everything harder. And she emphasizes that even small things matter. A 5-minute walk, a few deep breaths between meetings, choosing water over sugary drinks. These small acts accumulate and make a real difference to your day's trajectory.
It's about consistent small investments in your physical battery. Right, those are the 7 blocks. But you mentioned she also talks about self-awareness and kindness being key.
Yeah, she positions self-awareness as like the ultimate secret weapon underlying all of this. It's the ability to notice when you're slipping into defensive mode, to catch your automatic reactions in action.
To see the pattern.
Right, and then having the humility to say, okay, that wasn't helpful, and the courage to try a different approach. And crucially, the kindness towards yourself when you don't get it right immediately.
Self-compassion, not beating yourself up.
Exactly, being patient, giving yourself credit for trying, celebrating the small wins. That self-kindness isn't weakness. It's actually the foundation for building resilience and making these changes stick.
It's treating yourself like you treat a friend trying to learn something new. So
Mhm.
when you pull it all together, all these blocks, this self-awareness, it really boils down to conscious choice, doesn't it?
That's the thread running through everything. Having a good day isn't random. It's the outcome of a series of small, intentional choices you make about how you manage your mind, your emotions, your energy, your interactions,
It's shifting from just reacting and surviving.
to actually designing and shaping your day.
So choosing to set that intention versus just letting the inbox take over.
Right.
Choosing focus over the chaos of multitasking.
Mm-hmm.
Choosing to assume the best in others. Choosing to pause and question your assumptions.
Crucial.
Leading with empathy. Choosing to learn from setbacks. Choosing to look after your physical energy.
It's all these micro choices that add up, and it's not a one and done thing. It's a practice every day.
So the big takeaway here is that good days aren't rare flukes. They're built. They're the result of these small, deliberate choices about managing our internal world.
And that puts the power right back in your hands, doesn't it? You don't necessarily need your circumstances to change drastically. You have the tools within you right now to start making shifts.
Like having a blank canvas every morning.
Exactly. And the paints, the choices are yours.
So maybe for you listening, just think about one small thing. Could you try setting an intention tomorrow morning before looking at your phone? Just 1 minute.
Or maybe notice when you feel defensive and just try asking yourself, what else could be true here? Just a little curiosity.
It's about recognizing that these small shifts aren't trivial. They have real power. It's how we move from just getting through the day
To actually thriving, becoming the architect of your own good days.